Welcome to the Apex Insider Push to Cash show. I got Nathan Rogers here. We are back to discuss the Children of Alabama. Couldn't even tell you how they actually pronounce it. I like to call it the Barber race. It's one of my favorite tracks,
Yeah,
actually. Just
Barber.
that's it. That's the way what I call it. But welcome, man. How are you doing?
Doing good. Yep, we're just like we were just talking about before. We're rolling into the May in Indianapolis, which, in my opinion, my biased opinion, is just one of the better places to be in the month of May. We get some great weather, and we're gonna have lots of action at the track. So, looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's now feeling like Indy is around the corner. In general, just May is a good time. I feel like this is when racing season really starts to kick off overall. Obviously, around the corner is Le Mans, and then I mean F1's been going on, and of course the same weekend of Le Mans. I think it's going to be the same weekend. I'm not sure, but Monaco is also um, going to be
Yep.
happening. So like this summer calendar, major sports basically going to be done by June. So we just full on, full throttle racing. And I love that.
Well, yeah.
So love it. Love it. So, but yeah, let's talk about the Barber race. Um, like I didn't catch the beginning of it. I'm assuming that not really much happened anyways to begin
Mhm.
with, because by the time I actually got home and sat down and started watching, it was like, oh, so I mean, we kind of expected this, right? Like hard to pass track when you get to more of these front limited circuits. It's you got to take care of your tires, right? You just have to, and this is just typical with all racing, and then you really just banking on your pit strategy. But it also felt a little different this year. That uh, to me, just overall, we've beat this with a dead horse. The hybrid system is just not giving us what we were hoping for. Yeah. So, what were your thoughts of this?
No, spot on. I think unfortunately this race was another victim of the hybrid engine. Um, this No one was able to do the two-stop strategy, which was what really made this race great the last couple of years of the blending strategy. So everyone was on a three-stop, which is pretty easy to do, even with. I mean, I think everyone kind of struggled on one stint, maybe one and a half stints on maybe the used tires they had to use at one point, but um, I think that leads into some of the passing we didn't see or no real challenge. And then once again, we had no cautions,
Yeah.
which some people, it's like, is that just an anomaly? Or I know Alexander Rossi on his podcast mentioned that they're just not able to push this car like to the limit. Um, and we're not getting really full stints where people have to struggle at the end. Everyone is just getting off of these tires the second they're they're seeing issues or lap times start to fall off a little bit. People will just do as many stops as they need instead of the last few years or in prior. Sometimes you had stints that you had to struggle through the last 10 or 15 laps, and that's where you would really see the passing or some of those accidents where drivers just couldn't hold on. And so when you have someone like Pillow up front, just pulling away, and there's nothing that anything in the race or any of the drivers can do to bring that back in, you kind of get what we had on Sunday, which was not the best race. There was some interesting mid-pack battles. There was a surge by Lundgaard at one point, but other than that, a little bit of a bummer overall.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, Pillow just took off. That was it. I mean, he
Yeah,
gapped pretty fast from McLaughlin. I did see that from my live timing board. I was like, wow, he was just like really, just right off the bat, just 3 seconds and what, like 5 laps or something like that. Crazy, right? Like in the past, we would see it. The gap is within a second, and it would probably hang there for a little bit of time before maybe it starts dropping. It's kind of unfortunate too, because I came in this year with a lot. I had reservations about the hybrid, but I came in with a lot of expectation. Like maybe we get this shake, maybe we see something interesting, and it's the product of that hybrid, which is unfortunate. And I'm not going to sit here and try to say I got solutions to how to fix it or anything like that. But what's making me start to think is like we've done street tracks, we've done a traditional course. What are we going to see now? Maybe we do see something better in ovals, which is I'm hoping, and I think we should see something better with ovals.
Yeah.
But I also still am like, I as much as I think ovals with IndyCar is fun and whatnot, I still want to see these guys battle in turns. I want to see them, pushing to the limit. And you brought up something with Rossi on this podcast saying they're just not able to do that. And we've seen this week in, week out. It seems like they're taking the chances like we used to see. And that's drying up the competition when you're going in week out. And it's unfortunate because like I see, I was sitting there at the end watching Siegel. I needed Siegel to get Rossi to get me my last card from GridRival because I needed him within 8, not 7 spots of, I think it was Malukas. And he was there. I was like, I'm just waiting for him to get that. He's within 7 tenths, 8 tenths. Like we're almost there. Nope. He was just stuck the entire time. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I think he ran out of push to pass there with a few laps to go, so that kills part of his chances. Then also Rossi was on his primary tire. He held that to the very end, which everyone except for Palou struggled on. So yeah, I mean it's kind of disappointing when you see some of those moments when you're thinking, A plus B should add up to this guy could make a move here, and they're just. It's not that they're not prepared. The broadcast has talked about a lot that these drivers have put a lot of muscle on. They're doing what they can to move these cars around, like I think the engineering groups and IndyCar's trying stuff too with the different with the tires, or we'll see in this next race at the GP. We'll talk about that in a couple of days of how they're trying to make sure you have to do both tires twice instead of just once, and different things like that. And they did that last year with the ovals, and I think they were actually successful with the ovals. Aside from Iowa, there was a lot of good oval racing on the hybrids. We'll have to see with the 500. So hopefully we still get a great race from that. But after that, the rest of the oval calendar, I'm still pretty optimistic that we'll get some good racing from that.
Yeah, me too. I just want it to be so much better than on the road courses, and just kind of unfortunate. But yeah, let's talk about the betting side. I know we were all just really into Felix this weekend. And a lot of us were on Felix over Rossi. And, in hindsight, obviously hindsight's 2020, but we talked about it on the podcast last week. And I was like, yeah, I pre-flop, right? We were really digging what Meyer Shank was doing. Felix was there. Like their tire deck's looking a lot better. I should have seen the signs though. As I saw practices, I was like, maybe we need to back off of this Felix might be, because now we're kind of seeing he's not really topping the time. He's not even getting into like that top 5 territory like everyone else is. And one thing I like to do, and I do this with F1 too, in free practices with them, is you got to see who's topping times. Like as track is evolving, you see who's topping times, right? And it's really a good tell on, is that guy actually extracting as much pace at the point of that time with the track when it's green and it's starting to rubber in. And I do this usually with IndyCar in the past too, where it's a little bit more simplistic with IndyCar because they're all the same cars, right? F1's a little bit different. They can make changes as they go through practices. But the signs were there. I had a moment of like, maybe I should back off of this because Rossi was doing actually better at that point. but I said I didn't want to overthink it. I'm going to still go with it. Maybe it's practice. And then here we are. Like, he qualified back where we didn't expect him to. Rossi qualified better, harder to pass track. And I took it on the race day when I should have known, should have probably stayed away at that point, even though the odds were even. And just in overall, Rossi, I think I'm done trying to fade him unless it's a track where he's just that's not his cup of tea. Because I think he's
Yeah,
showing up now every race, and he's doing something well with Ed Carpenter. So
yeah, he's tough because he's been in that 8 to 10 category in the standings in most races the last couple years. And I
yeah,
did think this was a spot to try to fade Rossi, but I think maybe the team strength kind of trumped what his displeasure with this track is, and that he was able to have a good ride. Yeah, I agree on Felix. Watching Friday and Saturday, I didn't look at if I could cash out, but I was kind of thinking like this might be a bet that if I could, I would cash out of it because he just. I don't think I mentioned on the last podcast that he wrecked in testing, and he
mm-hmm.
was saying to the reporters that it's his crashiest course and stuff. And I think maybe he lost his confidence there, and he never really had a chance to regain it um, with the weather on Saturday. And it seemed like a lot of people that tested there were really throwing, like even Lundgaard and Pato, um, that had really good cars at the test, and they're coming into the weekend on similar weather and things like that. Just the same stuff wasn't quite working for whatever reason that they had built off in the test, and there goes Polos. Just and that's so to get to my
Yeah.
bets. I kind of built my card on teams that have been strong here in the past and teams that looked really good in testing, and it wasn't. I just felt better about the field than I did taking Palou. It wasn't necessarily a fade on Palou or thinking that he was gonna screw up or anything. Like I definitely believe in who Alex Palou is at this point, but it just didn't work for me. So it was my first losing race of the season. I think I was down 1.75 units overall. There was a lot of those Chevy engines that I was kind of banking on. I think 7 of the top 10
Mm-hmm.
were up there. They weren't even close. I took a live bet on Herta at one point when I saw Palou went on his used primaries when other people were struggling, and Herta had positioned himself looking like the second best driver really. And Palou actually separated from Herta by 2 or 3 seconds on his primaries versus Herta's alternates, which just like shouldn't have been the case when you're looking at everyone else matching up. And so like Palou's performance, I just tip my cap to him again. He did it, and I don't, obviously, just like I said, looking back, hindsight's 2020. It's easy money to take Palou, but in history of IndyCar from when I've been watching, it's hard to take people at odds that low with such a competitive field. And so with the season he's having, we might have to rethink that strategy a little more.
Yeah, well, I made the mistake a couple weeks ago thinking at Long Beach, like, come on, Palou's going to probably get Kirkwood at some point. There's passing in those areas, right? And we saw him do that at Thermal, right? So yeah, like I was thinking to myself at one point, yeah, maybe I should just take Palou like at the odds. And to your point, in IndyCar, it's harder to say that because anything can happen in the past when we used to see a pre-hybrid and all that. So much volatility could happen in the top 3, right? At any
Yeah.
point. Yellows, right? We expect more yellows. But now I'm like, that should have just been an easy call. We should have just taken it and expected we overthought it. right? At the end of the day, you just sometimes just overthink things. But watch, the next time this happens, I do take Pillow and something happens and we're like, oh, now we get the yellow, or something is going to happen. And
Sure,
like,
yeah.
just,
And I mean, Flo was pulling away just off pace, but also like 5 to 10 cars botched their pit stops. I mean, it was ugly.
mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe it's due to these guys only getting, their reps in once every month because of IndyCar's schedule, but just for Pelot's team to run so perfect and everyone that is creeping forward, like Herta or, VK and Armstrong was having a really good day. And all these teams are just screwing it up in the pits, and Pelot's just breezing on by.
Yeah, no, yeah, going back to some of the other bets. So I had sat there for when I finally got odds on my end. I was like thinking, man, I should probably take Scotty M. Like this is the one. I kind of feel I was there, man. I was all but there. You guys were taking it too, and I was like, maybe I will take Pato. I think maybe Pato is going to he's going to show up, and he got what, P8, I think, in
Yeah,
qualifying. And I was like, yep, that's dead in the water. I should have just taken Scotty M, even though that kind of got sweaty for a little bit. Got fortunate situation happened in the pits with Herta. Actually, Herta was the one that had the longer pit, and he was able to get back up. So very
I,
disappointed in that. But
yeah, I do think Willpower and Pato had a little better cars than they showed, but the team just couldn't find their spots to get them clean track space within their pits. Some other people like Lundgaard or even Herta early on had better luck with, and Armstrong really before his mishap of just pitting and coming out in clean space and running just fast laps. But it seemed like every time that Power or Ward were coming and pit out, they were just sent right to the middle of a battle of people that are around him, and then also like lapped cars and stuff. So I know Power was pretty frustrated if he felt like he had the pace to get that he was faster than McLaughlin, but it just he couldn't get the pass done.
well, while we're on Penske, it seems like McLaughlin found it. He found something here, which he always does, power as well. But now I'm starting to question what's going on with Joseph Newgarden, because he is not the same guy that we expected last year. And I know Penske just overall has had their struggles this year, but you would expect he would be in the top 10, given that Will Power had some pace. Scott got into the top 3. Now I'm starting to question what's going on with Newgarden.
Yeah, I don't know if he made like a deal with the devil or something of like, hey, please give me that 500. I want to win it so bad, and I'll trade everything else for it
Yeah.
because he Newgarden did get podium at St. Pete, but after that, I don't think he's been inside the top 10 in the last 3 races. I mean, obviously, everyone knows that he's stronger at ovals, but I mean, he's also a multi-time IndyCar champion. He's been good on street courses. He's been good on road courses. So, um, going into road and street courses this season, he's the clear like third in that area, and I don't have a lot of trust in him to be super competitive. Um, yeah, I don't know what's up with that. And he's not necessarily having his best qualifying results that on average that he's had years before, and he's just not getting it done.
I mean, he did get back into the top 10, so he did do something.
But he's 10th, I think.
Yeah, right at 10. I thought for some reason he was 11th, but then I remembered it was Kirkwood at 11th. So he did get back in there, but still, like, he didn't seem competitive. I mean,
No.
if you got Rossi ahead of you, like, what's going on is kind of my question. You know what? I mean, time will tell. Like you said, ovals are around the corner. I'm very interested to see one after. I'm not even going to judge solely off just the Indy 500 on the ovals as much as once we get to the first one, which I think that's when I start really going to be really judging. And I'm still skeptical of Penske here. Don't know, or like just in general, it's making me nervous when it comes to betting. I mean, it seemed very clear you should be taking, Scott, Will, they really like it here. Powerful at this track. We felt very confident in that. But then now what? Like, are we reverting back to the mean with them where they're going to just be struggling? So this is where I'm still going to be treading lightly. And just overall, I think I was talking to you guys about that. Like, the market just with IndyCar betting has been very poor, at least on my end. I know I don't have Bet 365 access, but even then, like Bovada, I mean, they were limiting me to $50. Not me, actually. I will say my friend, since I don't have access anymore. But even then, he's casual guy who doesn't bet motorsports, right? And I was like, let's throw some money down on this Lundgaard and Newgard and all this. And I was like trying to put a couple $100. They were saying no, $50 was your max bet. I mean, I'm very disappointed to the point, and I went on a rant about that, and it's making me think I'm not going to probably stress as much anymore moving forward, at least this year, if they're going to continue to be there like that. I say that now, but Indy 500 will get a lot. I know we will get a lot because it's a premier race. But after that, it's just not. It's going to be probably not much. So I'm going to be shifting my attention more to GridRival because I'm starting to. We're almost a quarter through the season, or our quarter through the season. I think I've gotten an idea of what we're expecting with placements of drivers. Qualifying we're getting now as an option. I mean, 2 weekends in a row we've got, or 2 races in a row we got qualifying successfully. It's been working for me on that, at least. So I know moving forward I'm going to be focusing a lot on GridRival more than the odds, because I'm just tired of, one, I only get 5 options. Like, what am I, outright, maybe a top 3 here? So often they give me a group bet and then 3 head-to-head matchups, 4. Like, that doesn't give me a whole lot to get happy about. So
yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate here to have access to 9-10 books, and I mean, we have gotten matchups in groups each race, for within those books, but there's no like creativity among any of these of any new markets or anything interesting after the first race. Caesars tried it and then dropped it. What really kind of hurts me, I'd say where a lot of my kind of cash comes in would be on podiums and top 5s. But when I don't have the top 5s, it really hurts me in the podiums because I lose that little flexibility of those couple spots.
Yeah.
And normally that we'll get more top 5 markets after the 500 for whatever reason. And so I'm looking forward to those. But there's almost every race when I don't have top 5s, someone finishes up there, it's like, of course, like, yeah, I would have loved to kind of play them there. The podium number doesn't really make sense, but you can mix in those top 5s. It really opens it up for me. But yeah, I do love what we've got going with GridRival, and looking forward to see what they're doing for the 500.
Yeah, I'm definitely am too, and I expect we will get a lot of 500 options. I would say even after on the qualifying, because I do see a lot of head-to-heads typically. I love head-to-heads. That's my like bread and butter. It's one of my favorites. I think you remove a lot of extreme variables. You're just focused on one driver. You can focus on pace data and just try to ignore like the would have could have situations of like accidents, yellows, and all that. So yeah, I gotta say, I was just overall, you guys heard me rant about this. I have been absolutely frustrated at IndyCar as a whole. I think outside of maybe the commercials on Fox, and Pelot being awesome, this has been a subpar season in my eyes. It really has. It's been subpar in so many ways, from how they market it, the coverage that I'm getting, that it just kind of sucks. There's at times where I'm like, they focus on like some battle for like, 5 seconds, and then they shift to something else. Like, I stay focused. Like, let's pay attention to, like, put the attention on the racing. Commercials, of course, are always going to be there. I get that. I don't have access to FS2, so I can't even watch this stuff. So I have to go to my leaderboard and watch the leaderboard, right? It's just, and then, yeah, the betting market's just gotten just bad over the years. And it's crazy because there was a point in time I used to be able to log into my back alley book from my local bookie, and I would get up just a plethora of options. And now I can't even get a option, for anything. So it's been quite frustrating, man. I'm waiting for them to turn it. I mean, like, you look at NASCAR, you look at F1, they give you a laundry list, and like you're talking about creativity, they give you creative markets, and they allow you to bet it. And it's just crazy that we're not able to get that with IndyCar.
Yeah, I kind of wish that all the Fox commercials and stuff, because those were awesome. That was great
Yeah.
momentum into the season. But somehow, some way, I wish that was like 2 years ago, and it's rolling into the product that we had a couple of years ago. Because I do think Fox is getting better each race. But those first couple weeks, and say there's new people wanting to watch the sport or just very casual, like if you're trying to tune into practice or qualifying and they don't have the time splits or even the lap times at all, like they did
Yeah.
in the first couple of months, like you have no idea what you're watching and it's not interesting at all. But when you can see how someone's trending in a lap, like, just watching the screen, yeah, everyone looks like they're going fast. You got to have the data on the screen, and they did add that this race, which I think is good. But unfortunately, the racing product is
It's not that
suffering
good.
now,
Yeah.
and you've probably lost some people that were like, oh, like these commercials, they were kind of funny, they're kind of cool. Like, I'm gonna check this out, and maybe they're like, okay, that was kind of what I thought racing was like, just kind of boring. And
Yeah.
so, because I think a couple of years ago, I mean, since I love IndyCar so much, it's very biased, but I mean, it was some of the best,
Oh,
racing of
2023 season was amazing,
yeah.
right? It was great.
And I've tried to tune into other series, I'll watch some F1 and stuff, and I still can't get into like NASCAR or some other series. Um, and I just think IndyCar had a really good thing, and I'm kind of concerned of where they're at with this hybrid, and they might be stuck with it. But yeah, and then on the books, I mean, I've reached out to people and they say, well, we don't get any action. It's like, I mean, what action are you expecting when you just have a list of, outrights, people
I
want to bet
I
more than that.
hate that. I hate that because my books are offering things like, I don't know, it's the weirdest, like Mexican cockfighting, right? Like, I can get that, but you can't put IndyCar, like, listen, we know how the industry works. We have Bet365 guy in our Discord. We talk to him all the time. With F1, normally he will set the line on a lot of markets and they just copy. Everyone just copies each other. So all we need is one book to really just get out there, put it out there, and then everyone else starts copying each other with that. And then they adjust on the fly as they get action, whatever it is. And yes, I hear them. They're not getting the action, but why not? You just have to copy. We just need one person to create it and then just copy and paste. That's it.
Yeah, and it might take IndyCar partnering with someone, which it kind of seems like from an article that came out earlier this year that they did that a little bit with DraftKings, and they're talking about, oh, we'll make this like horse racing and the win place show, and like that doesn't move the needle at all, and that
No.
confuses people that they'll just assume that people know about horse betting and they're going to come over to car racing, and I mean I have no interest in betting a top two in IndyCar.
Yeah.
Like a top three is hard enough, a top five is hard enough. So like that doesn't move the needle at all. I think they need to move off of that and partner someone that's gonna, bring those interesting markets.
Yeah, and the data aspect, and again, I know like I keep comparing to F1, and I know they're completely different, but I mean it's the same, with NASCAR or F1. You brought up the point of the time, just the live data, right? Like we want to be able to see what is happening. If you're a casual fan and you're just getting into it, yeah, it's just up there. You probably won't care. But most people that will probably be tuning in, week out, or as they're getting into it, will eventually say, "Oh, I get it. Let me see that data." And if you're not showing it, then what are we doing here? Like you're just watching a car just go around. Like you can't tell, you can't feel like how fast are they actually going. So,
Right.
and yeah, going back to the betting markets and everything, they did DraftKings tried that win play show, which we all thought was hilarious. They did that with F1, and we're like, no, just revert back to, just don't be dumb, just do top two, top three, do it now, top four. They reverted back from that. So and it's just wild to me, like this whole company is sponsored by NTT Data, and I still can't get access to it. One thing that makes F1 so successful is there's just data nerds when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah,
They're
for
just
sure.
they don't really probably care about the racing as much as they want to just see this stuff. I'm not able to go and do that right now because I can't find that access. I have to go to their website, pull a PDF, and it's just like 80 pages where I'm like, okay, now I got to try to convert this into what I want to try to convert it to, and I can't do that. Give me access to the raw data, and let the content creators go out there and help push and market your product. And that's the problem I have with it, is they're just not doing that. If you don't give people access to this stuff, you're losing out on marketing. Like there are people like us that want to market your product, but
Yeah.
you're not helping us do that. So yeah, there's some things they need to tweak for sure. So um, that was my rant, just because I'm number one, just going back to our betting year. It's been super light on my end. I have 13 total bets made in 4
Wow. Yeah.
races. 14, 13. That's it. I haven't even staked $1,000 just because I'm kind of limited and I have lack of options. I'm only up 1.31 units on the year. And it's kind of disappointing when I look back at 2022. I mean, I had quite a bit going on throughout that year. I miss it, man. I think that's why I want to be able to say like I could go in and just place these bets and giving me these options, and it's just kind of disappointing. So
Yeah, I guess, I mean, we'll try to wrap it up in a bow here and just say that in the optimistic way that I hope it can get better. I think it will get a little bit better as we roll into the 500. And normally we get a few more markets after that. The books maybe get a little more comfortable.
yeah,
The calendar's a lot tighter. We're going to have, a lot more races. And we're going to roll into oval season, which I think will give us a better product and people have a little more fun with.
yeah,
So hopefully from here on out, we can head up.
yeah. No, for sure. I'm looking back at last year. I'm telling you, I had 6 different head-to-head. So I expect books for Indy 500 to really come out. I almost guarantee we will see some good action on that. I do hope that we get some good action this weekend. I do love the road course here. So, but yeah, look for it in a couple of days. We're gonna do our what is it? The
Sancio.
Soncio Grand Prix. So, yeah, man, we'll see it in a couple of days, and we'll hopefully get some lines by then. Hopefully.
Yeah, I'm ready to get back to winning. So let's do it.
All righty. We'll see you in a couple of days then.
All right.
All right. See ya.